Yeah, am I surprised that the D-backs played the way they played? To me, no. Right? I saw a team that looked prepared, looked ready to go into LA, a team that they faced all the time. And as you see right there, like they're not afraid of the moment. They're not afraid of anybody. They know they're the youngest team in the postseason, and that doesn't bother them. And I think that gives them the freedom to go out there and say, the pressure's not on us. The pressure's on everybody else to try to beat us. And I think you saw a team in game one there against the Dodgers that was ready to play, that looked like they had just finished a series and they were ready to go into Dodger Stadium and get the best out of LA. And, they made the Dodgers work, right? They made Clayton Kershaw search for answers and he didn't have them. And so I think this is a series. And I think the fact that they were able to line up their starting pitching exactly the way they wanted to, Merrill Kelly probably could have gave you 9 if Torey Lovello really wanted to. And then you get Zach Gallen here in game 2. This is not as easy as people probably thought it would be for the LA Dodgers.
Does this hamstring the Dodgers? The fact that now we know it's going to go at least to 4 games with a chance of Kershaw coming back in the 5th, having a legend, first ballot Hall of Famer on your roster that's your go-to guy, does this hamstring the Dodgers? Because they could have put anybody out there. Or were they being arbitrary about this decision and going, actually, our best pitcher right now is Bobby
Bobby
Miller,
Miller.
but we got to go with Kershaw because he is a Hall of Famer.
Personally, the way the season had gone, and because you didn't know what Kershaw's status was as far as the health, if I was managing, I'm probably giving the ball to Bobby Miller, right? We saw the D-backs in a game 1 of a wild card round where you lose game 1, your back is against the wall and say, Brandon Pfaadt, here you go. And they were able to not only win that game, they won the next game and, won that series. I think for the Dodgers now, the one benefit that they have, and it might be something that people don't even think about, is that Emmett Sheehan gave them almost 3 innings of work after Kershaw came out of that game, where you blow through that bullpen, it puts you behind for the rest of the series. Now, you do have that weird off day in between, so you're probably in better shape than you would be other times. But I think the fact that you had a guy go out there and give you, almost 90 pitches and kind of stabilize things where that game could have gotten out of hand more than it already was, but it didn't. I think if you're the Dodgers, you just have to come back in game 2 and say, yo, clean slate. We have to come out and play like the team that we know we are.
Are the Diamondbacks better than the Dodgers if they get only 5 1/3 innings out of Zach Gallen? Because Zach Gallen this year hasn't gone more than 5 1/3 against the Dodgers.
I have a hard time believing that we see that version of Zach Gallen, only because the version of Zach Gallen that I saw against the Brewers, it looked like that, right, Larry? This guy might not even make it through 5 innings. And after giving up 2 early runs, he was lights out the rest of the way, made it almost 7 innings, and they were able to get to their high leverage guys at the back end, close that game out. If you see that Zach Gallen, I think the Dodgers are going to be in trouble. Because if you're able to line it up with Ginkel and then Paul Sewald in the back end, that gives them everything they want to do as far as lining up, their starting staff. And I think Torey Lovello is going to give Zach Gallen a lot of leash. I think we saw that in the wild card round, and especially now in the DS, where it's like, you take this game against the Dodgers, you're going to be in really, really good shape where you could come back with, Merrill Kelly in game 4, come back with Gallen in game 5 if it gets to game 5. And so you're going to be able to play with house money a little bit, where you could come back with Brandon Pfaadt in game 3 and then kind of bullpen that thing into where you want it to go. So do I think, even with the history that you're talking about, the Dodgers or the D-backs, will have to play it close? No, I think you're going to go out there, or I think we're going to see Torey Lovello go out there and say, here's the ball, big boy, go do your thing.
Do you think that the Diamondbacks have a us against the world mentality going on as they took down the Brewers? You take down the Dodgers in game 1. You certainly heard from Torey Lovello after game 1 that they heard/saw people talking about the reseeding and how, the Diamondbacks maybe should be playing the Braves right now because they're definitely the shittiest team out of the bunch. And it's like, hold up, maybe not. Do you think they're actually carrying that? Because, hey, I know bulletin board material for some teams really carries. I mean, we spoke about the Orioles all season with Fangraph. So did you get those vibes at all from them when you were around them, that they were like, yeah, the mix of no one's expecting us to do anything, so let's prove it, but also we're playing with house money, which is actually a line that Gallen said.
Yeah, like I asked Zach Gallen after that clincher in Milwaukee if like what he had learned from that group in that series, and he said, well, this is who we've been all year long. Now, obviously the stage is bigger, but the idea that they're not scared of anything, it kind of goes hand in hand with the youth, right? Like when you're a team that has been there and done that, there are a lot of things that you're not expecting that come up throughout a postseason run. I think for the D-backs, the fact that they haven't been there in a long time, I think the fact that, the team that they're facing in the Dodgers is one that they actually see a lot. I actually think that benefits them more than it would if they did see the Braves in this round, a team that you don't see as much. But I think there's a little bit of us against the world where, yeah, maybe people don't believe in you as much as they believe in the Dodgers, who have been there a lot, or the Braves, who was the best team throughout the regular season. And I think they're okay with that. And I think they like to be able to prove people wrong. But I don't think that Torey Lovullo is the type of manager that wants to just rely on that. He wants to show his team to show that, like, hey, we're a really good team, and we deserve to be here. So I think it's more of we deserve to be here than we have to show all the naysayers that we're really good.
And they're fun to watch. Like they're an exciting team to watch. Now, Russ, I think so far, me and Scotty, we're winning. We're winning right now. Like you're losing. You're just not having your best interview right now. Do you feel like you've had too much time off since Thursday, since you've been on the show? Like, can you feel
too much rest? Did I not come in with the energy that I usually give on right, 1 day's rest and then come back on?
Because you're normally here every day. You're normally on, and it just seems like you just don't have quite the same energy. I
don't have my best self.
Yeah.
Right? You need to bring somebody else in here to come talk to me. Right? Like it can't just be you guys. You guys are the high leverage. Like I hate
you need
so
simulated appearances on another show.
Yes.
And there needs to be a studio audience.
So much like, oh, well, they should have played the D-backs because, they were the number one. If you're that good, you should be able to play anybody and it shouldn't matter, right? Like, if you're the best team in baseball, if you're the Braves and, you hit the ball out of the ballpark, you tied the record for homers in a season, right? Like, nobody can beat the Braves. All right, show us then. Show us why you were the best team in baseball all season long. Like, I don't think the advantage you got was that you got to line up your pitching exactly the way you wanted to. Other teams didn't get to do that, right? The D-backs started Brandon Pfaadt in game 1 of the NL wildcard round, right? The benefit of that you get is you get to say, all right, Spencer Strider game 1, Max Fried game 2. And if you lose, that's on you. That's not on everybody else. We don't have to change the formatting, and we don't have to reseed. Play better. Right, I know. Like I think I saw a stat today that the team that has more rest it loses a lot in the last 5 years or so. I don't like the idea that you were the best team. You were rewarded by having the bye and getting to get healthy. If you had guys banged up, you get to pick exactly who you want for the first couple games of that series. And now all of a sudden, because you didn't play your best game in game 1, now it's not fair. We need to change the rules. Stop.
I'd also like to point out there was a team that won game 1 of the ALDS, the Houston Astros, and your starting pitching matchup was Justin Verlander against Bailey Ober. Okay? It's not a slight to Bailey Ober, but Pablo Lopez is better. Sonny Gray is better. Those pitchers were used. So the Astros won partially because they were able to set up their pitching at home to welcome in a team. So they did get a dub out of it. Not the only reason, but definitely a major reason if you caught the first pitch that he delivered to Jose Altuve.
He gone.
But like, how whack is that? Like, why are we caping for teams that didn't play well, right? Yo, you were the best team in the regular season. Whoop-de-doo. But you got to be able to come out and play like that team in the postseason, and we shouldn't just change the rules because those teams are losing, right? Like if you lose to a 87 win team and you won 115 games, nobody gives a damn if you were the number 1 seed.
No doubt, and it's more of a I won't even get into it. It's just like, oh well, let's just make sure we pave the path for the best team. Like if you really wanted to pave the path for the best team, 2 teams in the National League, 2 teams in the American League, go get them. This is exciting. This is exactly what we sign up for the playoffs. And to me, because we're always second guessing managers in the playoffs, this is how you make the big bucks in the playoffs. To me, push aside John Schneider, push aside Rocco Baldelli's moves, push aside all these other moves. Was Snideker's move to move Albies to out of their, like they hit the same lineup for I don't know how many hundreds of games in this season, and he shifts the lineup in the playoffs? Shouldn't he have been getting more flack for that?
I think the advantage that Snit gets is that his teams have been so successful. They've been in these moments before, and you kind of get benefit of the doubt, right? I think the fact that you have John Schneider, newer manager, the move that he made didn't work, so it's a little bit of outcome bias. I think that you just get benefit of the doubt that way, right? Because you've been managing for a longer time. The moves that you made usually work. It just didn't that time. But I do think there is something to the whole lineup thing, because I've talked to managers a ton over the years about lineups, and it's the one thing that you ask them about that usually they'll get a little skittish on. Like, well, why are people like? I know here in Chicago for a long time, something that people knocked Joe Madden for was the lineups. And why are you batting this guy here? Why is Schwarber leading off? Why is Rizzo leading off? Like, why can't you have a consistent lineup every day? And like, it's a thing that he always pushed back at people on. And so I think for Snit, maybe you outsmart yourself a little bit. Like maybe you just say, well, we can tinker here, tinker there. This lineup hit 307 home runs during the regular season. Exactly the way they were lined up. Let's probably keep it there, right?
And they ran into good pitching. They're going to run into more good pitching. That's what makes it a great series, too. Like the Phillies have, in my mind, a pitching advantage. And the Braves should have a little bit more of an advantage on offense. Just didn't see it in game 1. Russ, good stuff, man. We'll talk to you later this week, all right?
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.